Hey, what's going on, folks? It's me and Arknolia, Arknolia Stroke of Bean, and this is kind of like a special edition of our program here. Today, we're going to be discussing real Halloween music, real Halloween stuff there, and what kind of provoked this was because I did a video on my channel regarding what real Halloween music should and should not be. And this was in response to those, now that's what I call music type compilations where they have the current artists, the current, people who's on the charts right now doing the Halloween so-called Halloween themed music. Like, for example, Disturbia by Rihanna. It's a pop song, but yet it's supposed to be Halloween themed. I'm like, come on, I'm like, come on, give us a break. Give us, are you pulling our legs? I mean, like, if you want real Halloween music, you got to come to the one of the sources right here. I can name many dark ambient, many scary projects, many scary music out there, and Arknolia has a few suggestions of his own. Yeah, in fact, not too long ago, he suggested a track called DOA by this group called Blood Rock from 1971. He said the lyrics there are extremely chilling there, real disturbing to listen to there. Definitely. And when I hear about this song, I figure it's something to do with a police case or something in a hospital, if I'm correct there.
Actually, it has to do with some kind of accident of
Mm.
some sort.
Ah.
It's there is a story, but I'm not sure what it is.
I'm going to look it up
I'd have
right
to look
now.
that up.
You got me intrigued, dude.
But
Way
that song
intrigued.
is absolutely creepy to listen to, especially the lyrics, because it gets into some pretty graphic stuff.
Oh,
And
yeah.
actually, I'm surprised it got played on the radio.
All right. And this is now here are the lyrics to the song right here. Right here. Here's the verse. Laying here looking at the ceiling, someone lays a sheet across my chest. Something war is flowing through my fingers. Pain is flowing through all my back. I try to move my arms and there's no feeling. And when I look, I see there's nothing there. The face beside me stopped, it totally bleeding. The girl I knew is such has a distant stare. Now, life is flowing out of my body, pain is flowing out of my blood. The sheets are red and moist where I am dying. God in heaven, teach me how to die. It's like, when you look at it, it's like, it's a song by the band Blood Rock, which is a Texas based group. It came out on Capitol Records in 1971. Um, it is about an airplane crash victim and his girlfriend dying on their way to the hospital. Now, the version of the track was released as a single and is roughly half the length of the original long album version, which is on their album Blood Rock 2. The motivation for writing the song was explained in 2005 by the guitarist Lee Pickens. He said, quote unquote, when I was 17, I wanted to be an airline pilot. I had just gotten out of this airplane with a friend of mine at this little airport and I watched him take off. He went about 200 feet into the air, rolled, and crashed. Wow. Seeing your
Yeah, that's a
buddy,
tough one.
seeing your friend who wanted to fly an airplane alongside you die like that before your own eyes. Damn, that's got to trip the hell out of you, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But that song's a good listen because it's got some creepy organ in it. You get to hear the ambulances, and the
Yeah,
guitar work in it is really good too.
yeah,
Especially the 8 minute version. Don't listen to the single.
yeah,
Listen to the album version because it's a little over 8 minutes long.
yeah. And by the way, here's something else. That track, many radio stations across the states banned the song.
Oh, they wouldn't play it. A lot
Oh
of them.
yeah, because despite of a lack of airplay, the single still reached number 36 on the Billboard charts. Now the song was included in a compilation called Death, Glory, and Retribution in 1985 that consisted of songs about death, protests, and answers by a look at various artists there.
Right.
Yeah. Now the funny thing is, when we're including some of these tracks and albums here that are really Halloween themed. I mentioned in the video that I did about Halloween themed music, which is I don't think Arkia has ever heard of these albums that I'm about to mention here. I mentioned these a couple of times before. I did reviews on them in various blogs here, vlogs, and a couple of a couple of the artists I'm going to mention. Lull, Lull, which is basically a dark ambient project by Mick Harris, who is the former drummer of the grindcore metal band out of Birmingham, England, Napalm Death. It's something that he basically started at the same time he started his other group, Scorn. He got the idea of looking out through the windows of tour buses, imagining, so basically, Lowell basically was a soundtrack to a space to put forth.
Right.
And they release now. Lowell has released many soundscape albums like "Dreamt About Dreaming," "Journeys Through Underworlds," "Cold Summer," "Cold Summer," which is one of my favorites. "Continue," which is one track, 62 minutes long. This powerful drone lasting throughout the whole album. There, it's something that I would play almost a lot of times when I was traveling on the country roadside back in Michigan when the snow was on the ground during the winter time. And I would just have that playing on the tape deck, which is, wow. There was one time I think I mentioned this in the vlog there. I had a gal pal with me, and I was playing that track to turn her on to it. At one point, when I stopped playing it, she was like, woke up, oh my gosh, dude, I was in a trance, she said. That thing kind of like put her in a trance. She was almost hypnotized by that record there.
Wow.
Yeah, so, but basically, I can name pieces like Pure Number 2 by Godflesh, which basically is eerie guitar feedback for about 21 minutes there, sent into a sort of, it's kind of like, some like, I'm not too sure if it's instrumental storyline, but it's basically guitar feedback, not one but two guitars with a bunch of other distorted effects when you turn the volume up on the guitar and such. I think it also included a distorted bass guitar included in some of the areas of the piece there. That's from the album Pure by, of course, Godflesh. That's still available. Definitely look that up on YouTube or Spotify. And of course, coming down to the big one, Lustmord. This you heard? I know. Have you heard of Lustmord any by chance? Arky.
A little bit, but no, I'm not real familiar with them.
Lustmord started in 1980 by a man named Brian Williams from the Wales, England area. He's since moved to California. He doubles as a sound designer for various sci-fi and action flicks. There, he's the guy who makes the gunshot sound a lot larger than what it does towards the end of the movie, where the good guy finally takes the bad guy out with that one bullet to settle the score once and for all.
All
Yep,
right.
yep,
Yeah.
yep. Or they'll just make a special other effects like sound of an anvil or sound of a car crash or explosion or something like that seem louder than it is. That's basically what they do. Now he started the project in 1980. It was back then it was kind of like a more industrial with the tape loops, so it's sort of keyboard sounding. He essentially transitioned into more darker, soundscapes and everything else. He uh, he released this studio album not too long ago, actually a couple years back in 2016, called Dark Matter, which was basically taken from a collection of sounds that was recorded by NASA and other space stations like the National Radio Observatory or a couple others, and compiled it into three tracks, all over 20 minutes long. The longest
Oh,
is
wow.
about the longest is about 29 minutes, and that's the first track, Subspace. It's basically it's a collection of recordings from outer space compiled together by One of them, of course, NASA. You may look up the sounds of the planets that NASA's Voyager probe recorded a few years back. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you look up the sounds of Jupiter, Uranus, um, Saturn, even planet Earth, various moons, and it's like they sound either gassy, they sound a lot of, but basically, I think the best one would have to be the Jupiter sounding one because it sounds like it's being played from a keyboard in an ambient pace, but it's not really keyboard. It's just the gases and fumes from that particular planet
Huh.
that the sound recorder is picking up.
Well, I know Manfred Mann's Earth Band did some kind of tributes to albums too, but they weren't spooky.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Now, there's another one that's a couple that's on YouTube. There's Iron Cthulhu Apocalypse. I'm a big fan of that channel. It's good to listen to that when you're in the dark in the room by yourself. You know, there's also a musician from Sweden. His name is Julian H. Mulder. He he composes what is kind of like electronic space ambient music. He's put out tons of releases there. One of my favorites from him is, of course, is Fragments, which is an hour-long piece. You know, I discovered that accidentally in early 2012 when I was living with my girlfriend back in D-Town, and still a favorite of mine to this very day. You know, he's put out some other excellents like Elysium, The Rising. This one I can't pronounce, but it almost looks like the word pandemonium or something like that. There is a piece called After the Ashes. You know, he put out some pretty good stuff there. I have listened to it many times before. If you want some
Yeah.
soothing, dark music to chill out to, definitely highly recommend Mr. Mulder. Definitely.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to give all of that a look.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, you know what? I mentioned this album before, Rising by Les Mort as well. That one's a scare. That kind of has a very scary background to it there, believe it or not. Apparently, what it is that, and apparently what it is that the man behind Les Mort, as I mentioned, Brian Williams, that was recorded at the 40th anniversary of the Church of Satan back in June 6,
Wow.
2006. Now, keep in mind, I mentioned this before. Williams is an atheist. He doesn't believe in God or the devil and stuff. They probably just paid him a lot of money, to do that performance. It was basically background music for the whole ceremony there that he was doing. He recorded that and released it as Rising a couple months later. Now, a lot of the Les Mortar albums have been reissued through a label called Ant Zen Records with completely different album covers there, of course. He's also released albums like Purifying Fire, The Monstrous Soul, Metavoid, and one of my favorites from him, The Place Where the Black Stars Hang. That's one intense record to listen to as well. Also, don't forget Carbon slash Core that came out in 2008, if I'm correct there. And of course, another one that also came out in 2008, Other. It features guitar work from Adam Jones from the band Tool. He also did the cover art for the album just as well. It also features an appearance from King Buzzo Osborne from the Melvins.
Yeah. You could make a case for Tubular Bells being a Halloween song.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, no doubt, because we all know the movie that was featured on, The Exorcist from 1973.
Yeah.
Still to this very day, I wonder. I don't know. Do you know whose idea was it? Now, Tubular Bells was a prog rock piece on its own, needless to
Right.
say. But I guess, the guys who were the producers or the executives of the movie studio decided, let's have this as our theme music for the movie because of the opening piano.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because it just sounds spooky.
It does, yeah. And you know what? I'll bet you right now, Tour Bar Bells is probably one of the most requested song and most looked up track during every Halloween season because of that association with that movie. Now, there's also this one little spooky tune by David Bowie titled Cat People Putting Out the Fire with Gasoline, the original version that came on the soundtrack back in 1982. I don't know if you ever got to see that movie, Cat People. It started Malcolm McDowell and Natasha Kinski, who was the daughter of Klaus Kinski, the German actor there.
Actually, I've heard of the movie, but I have not seen it.
I have. I remember seeing on cable a year later, and she is pretty hot in this. I will say there. And the song itself, towards the end of the movie, is kind of deep and disturbing to listen to. Now, of course, Boy made a more harder rockin' version for the Let's Dance album, which is often more played than the original, which is sad because the original is like unique on its own there.
Yeah, sometimes remakes don't aren't quite at the level of the original.
And the fact,
Just kind of depends.
and of course, we got to include this one song here, the band Bauhaus. I'm sure you're familiar with them and their sound, if I'm
Yeah,
correct.
yeah,
Yes, the song Bela Lugosi is Dead. Came out in 1979, 9 minutes worth, on the small label called Small Wonder Records, still considered the pioneering goth rock song to this day. Still a classic to this very day. Something that you do not play, as according to a friend of mine back in Michigan stated, you do not play on a sunny day while cruising the streets. So the woman, her name was Heather. She used to live in Michigan. She now lives in Miami. She told me this one time that she wanted to beat the snot out of the guy in the car next to her because he was playing that song. And I'm sorry, you don't play that song like that on the broad daylight. Give us a break.
and not so loud that the cars next to you hear it.
Yeah, because it just, makes no sense. There's no purpose. It's not a daytime song. Give us a
No,
break, dude. No. There's songs that, let me give a recommendation. For anybody out there who is into dark ambient and dark albums and songs like I am at times, the best way to play them is during when it's daytime, when it's cloudy outside, when it's chilly, when there's a cloudy and snow on the ground, or basically at nighttime.
yeah,
Yeah. There's also another label I want to, actually two record labels I want to acknowledge that put out some real dark Halloween type music that you would find satisfying. Cold Meat Industry, which was ran by a guy named Roger Carmatic, who I'm friends with on Facebook. He since closed the label down in 2013. His artists range himself, his group Brighter Death Now, MZ412. There was Detuch Nepal, which is basically made up of his friend Peter Anderson. Razan
right.
de Tir, which is a more darker as well instrumentation music there. Kind of like a tweaks toward the sad kind of feel there, depressed feeling.
Right.
There's Mortis, who was a former member of this death metal group called Emperor. He left the group and he decided to go his own path. He decided to come out with a little gimmick, make himself look like a goblin with long hair for a good number of years. And it basically come out with neo apocalyptic, I guess you could say it's electronic classical music leaning towards the Renaissance there. Um,
Yeah,
a good majority of the acts on that label did it through keyboards, synthesizers and samplers, but they are programmed to sound like actual orchestras. I know there was one artist on the label called The Protagonist that accomplished this just perfectly. Absolutely perfectly, man.
wow.
Yeah.
I want to also recommend a couple of very old songs. 60s, I think both of them were 60s.
Yeah.
Everybody should be familiar with Monster Mash
Oh, we are like the back of our hands, definitely most shizzle, man.
by Bobby Boris Pickett, I believe.
Boris Pickett, I think it is. Yeah,
Yeah, but I think his first name is actually Bobby, and he went with Boris.
Bobby
That
Boris
that
Pickett.
That song is an absolute Halloween classic.
Still played today, no
Yeah,
matter what. Yeah, when there's a party going on, or when the radios are coming up with all these scary, with these Halloween themed songs, that's one of the first tracks they go for, next to a Spooky by Classics 4.
which really isn't Halloween, but
Yeah,
hey,
I know,
you know,
but just the title alone, they're gonna come out
right?
mix that together.
Yeah, it's I know there's a video of him doing that song on American Bandstand,
Yeah,
and he's obviously lip syncing,
yeah.
but he does a lot of creepy type faces while he's doing it and stuff.
Oh
It's an
wow.
interesting video.
Oh wow, I gotta check that out sometime soon.
And then the other one, late mid '60s, I think it was by a
Yeah.
guy by the name of Jumping Gene Simmons, which is interesting because he's not the same Gene Simmons.
No,
It's a
not that
different
Gene
guy.
Simmons. This is a totally different person. This is way before the Gene we all know and love.
Yeah, he did a song called "Haunted House,"
Yeah,
which is a good Halloween type. Well, it's kind of bouncy, actually, kind of
yeah,
weird, but that's a good Halloween type song.
yeah. Of course, we cannot forget the one and only Alice Cooper.
Yeah, I mean he wasn't going for Halloween, but his songs sure fit.
Yeah, I mean when you look at songs like "Dead Babies," which I know
Yeah,
a lot of parents really had an outrageous fit over,
yeah.
or you listen to the most of all the Ballad of Dwight Fry.
Oh, that's a good one.
That
And then they had he did "I Love the Dead."
yes, which we all know what that's about. I don't
Yeah.
think we want to talk about that unless on another time and space there.
Well, and
Cor-
actually, you can add Cold Ethel to that list.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's another one right there. I know a lot of Christian evangelists were uptight over that there.
Yeah, when you have a verse in there about Ethel's good and bad, she has to be because Ethel's dead. I mean, come
Yes,
on.
yeah, exactly. It's kind of funny. Cooper is credit. We got to give credit to him because he's able to tap into that one frame of mind, that one fear that we have, whether it's going to the doctor or the dentist. And he displayed that fear of the dentist in a track called Unfinished
Unfinished sweet.
Suite
Yeah.
from Billion Dollar Babies. Yeah. And kind of makes a lot of sense when you think about it. And he also so foretold in that song Generation Landslide, which kind of predicted the fallout between generations that we have today, the young and the old. I mean, the division between Americans today, between the left and the right, the
Yep.
division between different races, the black, the Hispanics, and the whites and the Asians.
And then you've got Welcome to My Nightmare.
Exactly, that's true as well. That's still a favorite there. And of course, we have other songs like Teenage Frankenstein from 1986 or Feed My Frankenstein.
Yeah, and you've got Killer.
Killer, the album Killer as well. Oh, yeah,
Well,
and
and the
we can,
song.
yeah, and the song as well. And we also cannot forget the track He's Back, the Man Behind the Mask, which was the theme song for one of the Friday the 13th movies around that period. Again,
Right.
1986. That was a big hit on MTV for a while there. And the kind of funny is that the man, since the early 80s has been, by the way, is a devout Christian, by the way.
Yeah, he basically changed up his entire lifestyle.
Yeah, he did. This is a man that was, I had to actually go to, and also we got to recommend this album because this, what I'm about to bring up here, pertains to that. He actually did spend time in a mental institution to get off alcohol.
Yeah.
I don't know if at that time there was any rehab centers, but at that period before that, there was no rehab, there was no Betty Ford clinics, so the only way to get off the whatever drug you were hooked on was going to a mental asylum. I know Iggy Pop mentioned that years before. He actually admitted he had to do that for that period of time there. But that was the way to go at the time to get off the shit that you were on, whether it was alcohol, heroin, or cocaine.
Yeah, I know the album, but I can't remember the name of it.
from the inside, where the detail
That's it.
that
Yeah.
yes,
Okay.
from the. I mean, I remember the first song I ever heard from him, other than the his version of "Because" from the Sergeant Pepper Lonely Hearts Club Band movie. Which, by the way, if you ever watch that movie, it displays a fine mustache in that flick there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very odd to see the Coop with a mustache when you think about it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's also the first time I heard any of his music was actually the ballad "How You Gonna See Me Now."
I think the first song I heard by him was "I'm 18."
Oh yeah, we know that. That came on years later.
Oh, actually, that came out, God, late '60s, early '70s.
It's early '70s. Yeah, it came out on "Love It to Death." I remember.
Yeah. 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 I was trying to remember exactly when that came out. That's about right.
Yeah, and what it was, and going back to "How You Gonna See Me Now," that song was written about how his wife Cheryl was going to view him after seeing the real Alice Cooper, seeing
Yeah.
him in this institution, seeing that he has this addiction to alcohol. Thinking to himself, she's going to see the real me and she is not going to like it. You know, and when you think about it, you got to give the Coop credit. He beat alcohol for how many years? He's a devout Christian. Him and his wife Cheryl are still together after all these years. And his daughter Calico, she's a member of the band called Bisto Blanco, which whose bass player Chuck Sumpin there is currently a member of his current band.
Wow.
Yeah. And he also has right now drummer, bassist, and a three guitar lineup. And one of those guitar players, you may have heard her name, Nita Strauss.
I've heard that name. Yeah.
Yes, she has an album of her own. I guess it's called Organized Chaos. That just came out on an independent label, I guess. And I guess she's still on. Well, they're not touring right now, but I know she's still involved with him for the period of time there, which
Right.
is pretty good there when you think about it. You know, much credit to the Coop. And by the way, I should also conclude by saying I remember when Motley Crue was doing their last tour. Apparently, Cooper was the opening act on a lot of the dates, and a lot of people were saying, Cooper prevailed over Motley Crue.
I wouldn't be surprised, to be quite honest.
Yeah, because Vince Neil can't sing worth a shit nowadays,
Yeah.
let
Yeah.
alone to look the same. I guess he had, before they were supposed to do this reunion tour together with Def Leppard and Poison, uh, Vince Neil had to hit the gym a few times to lose all that dang ass weight that he gained.
Yeah. Well, a lot of those kind of bands, for some, when I say those kind of bands, a lot of bands actually sometimes they deteriorate to the point where it's kind of like they're just a different group entirely.
I know. Look at Paul Stanley from Kiss. I mean, the way he was used to sound. There were a lot of clips of him fucking up on the vocals there. Trying to reach that peak that he used to, and just unable to. It's like that alone is fucking scary when you look at it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh shit, dude. It's got and yet what's really upsetting is that you see him just lip syncing to some of his old stuff there. Not
Yeah. And that's kind of a,
let
uh,
down.
yeah.
Letdown because you paid how many dollars to see a ticket to see this show, let alone the drinks, the merchandise, and the snacks and beverages. To see some guy lip syncing halfway through his set there. Come on,
Yeah. Yeah. That's it's kind of a disappointment.
it's more than that. Oh gosh, give us a break. And alone also seeing Axl Rose, he's not looking the same as well. That's kind of scary as well. Here's this fit and trim guy from the 80s, early 90s, looking like he's got a beach ball hidden underneath his shirt.
Yeah, that's one way to put it.
Yeah, Mike. He did fine when he was singing with AC/DC, mostly on the Brian Johnson material. But for some of the Bon Scott stuff there, it wasn't that good, to be honest with you. He needs to have that more raspier when it came to that, as well as the Johnson material there.
Right.
Now, of course, I'm going to mention this one actor that's on YouTube and Bandcamp. I definitely, Arky, definitely got to check this channel out. Iron Cthulhu Apocalypse. We follow each other on Twitter there. He has put out the person behind it, whose name I do not know, has put out tons of stuff on his channel there. Titles like "It Gets Worse," "The Eve Annihilation," More, Moar. That's how he spells it. Like the Black Spears of the something there. I forgot the title. Um, Veils of the Foundation. All those clips up there. He has a 8 hour sound hour adopt. Excuse me. 8 hour dark ambient mixes all
Oh man.
together. He's on YouTube. He's also on Bandcamp. Definitely you could buy or listen to his stuff there. Either way, I highly recommend it. You could, if you want to pass out candy and look for good background eerie music, definitely that's the person to look up.
Oh wow. Yeah.
Definitely. But back, my personal favorite that's over 10 hours is the Abyss Experience. I definitely made a recommendation to one of my buddies on Facebook of which kind of scary music to listen to while the rain is pouring there.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, so that's pretty much what my. Oh, we got to throw this album out. Atom by Tangerine Dream. ATEM, the title cut from that album. I used to listen to that album while I did this a couple of times back in Michigan. I used to cruise around Belle Isle, which is an island off the coast of, not really off the coast, there's a bridge connecting it. I would go to Belle Isle late at night, drive around the area to see what's up there. I did this a couple of times with a couple of gal pals or a date I was on at that time.
Right.
And I would just play this album from start to finish. A couple times I would drive around with the lights off for a couple of seconds there to get to pick up the feel I would get from this album and the atmosphere. I would not recommend anybody doing that, by the way, for the record there. And also, I the title cut from that album. In fact, the whole album altogether just creates a Halloween type vibe that works definitely.
Right.
Yeah, highly recommend it just as well. And of course, you gotta mention the piece I have on my SoundCloud page, "Abandoned," the longer extended version. Now I mentioned this to Joe Cronin not too long ago on Corrupted, one of the Corrupted pre-shows. The the piece I have on my SoundCloud page is called "Abandoned," and right now I have the full 2.5 hour version of that piece. It's a
Mm.
collection for various planets, sounds, collection from various, other dark ambient artists mixing together, slowed down to create something new. Now, what I did is that I streamed both versions of the original together side by side. I would have the YouTube Studio tab open and my page open, just showing that I was alive, and with the volume halfway up. And one thing I noticed that if the volume is up on both of those, the echo will last a lot longer. So I had that up. I was able to add a little bit of extra sound into it and to create this new high quality, massive version of the piece "Abandoned." Yeah. Now I also have another piece that I'm going to upload on my Facebook probably in a week or two. It is called "Carrie White." I'm debating on the title here. It involves Carrie, the Stephen King character. It
Right.
includes bits from the original 1976 version and the 2013 version, the prom massacre there. Now I extended that to about almost close to 90 minutes. And yes, it is a trip out to listen to. I even got the chills listening to the playback a couple times before, you know. And I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of reluctant to post it in a way because I'm afraid of how the Christians friends on my Facebook would react to something like that. But then again, I did inform them ahead of time. I am not a Satanist. I'm not a devil worshiper. No, this is just in for good Halloween fun here, but not the usual cheesy stuff that we had heard many times before. You know.
Yeah,
So
gotcha.
yes. So I'm gonna definitely load that up piece up there with a little disclaimer. And plus, as I mentioned, definitely we got to do a show about the about Carrie, the series there, including the 99 sequel titled Carrie 2, The Rage, as well as the musical and the two adaptations of the movie there.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to look those up because I'm not familiar with those. Carrie, I am familiar with, but
Oh yeah, then the concept and the story there. You'll tell you what. Look up the original prom scene from the 1976 with Sissy Spacek. Then you watch the 2013 version with Chloe Grace Moretz in the title role there. The difference is that in the 2013 version, this Carrie was a freaking Sith Lord.
mm,
The way she moved her arms and her hands and stuff, you know, like, and the comments underneath, you know, says such like Palpatine smiling, saying, "Yes, let the hate flow through you." Pretty much sums it up when you think. So, like, fits to say that Carrie White was one of the original Sith Lords when you think about it.
yeah,
But to put it in a more humorous perspective there. And definitely, we got. I'm hoping, Mason, we could get Joe Cronin onto this, on the discussion. We were talking about discussing the Carrie movie and how it pertains to the school shootings and the anti-bullying, system that's going on around on internet and everything else in classes as well. Definitely got to look into that.
absolutely.
Absolutely, I definitely recommend it. I don't know when we'll schedule it, but I'm hoping possibly either during one of our week of broadcasting, or we recorded it, or whichever there. But either way, we got to do it. Definitely.
Yeah, I think so.
Absolutely. For shizzle, man. For shizzle. All right. So I'm about to close up here and stop recording here and upload this bitch here onto my channel here. Okay. So anything you want to add, Arky?
No, that'll pretty much cover everything I had.
Oh yeah, pretty much. I said all I have to say about this particular subject, and to all the mainstream people out there that's buying into this, now that's what we call music kind of bull crap. That's not Halloween music. Look up the
No,
stuff that we both recommended and be satisfied and be astounded with what we have to offer, because what we're offering is 20 times better than Disturbia by Rihanna.
yeah,
Yeah. I think anybody else out there on the thread that I participated on Facebook regarding that album would most agree. Okay, so Arky, I will talk to you tomorrow, and you have a good
alrighty.
one. All right, all
All
right,
right, sounds good.
all right. Once again, Arknolia the Doctor at excuse me, rephrase that. 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. on Thursdays, and spread the word around, people. All right. All right.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.
All right.